Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus this morning is on urban agriculture. And before you figure that doesn't pertain to you, take a listen. Concerns continue to mount over the accessibility and quality of meals in cities around the country. And urban agriculture is quickly becoming a practical solution to give communities more choice. My first guest is known and loved by many. He's recognized as one of the most influential leaders of the food security and urban farming movement. Founder and CEO of Growing Power Incorporated, Mr. Will Allen. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be here with you.
I appreciate you being here, and I am interested in you telling all our viewers at home more about Growing Power Incorporated and what it is you do for the community.
Well, we're in our 21st year, and originally when I bought the farm, which I found out was the last remaining registered farm in Milwaukee in 1993, my goal was really to run it as a for-profit to sell my farm produce that I grow in Oak Creek. But about 2 years into the project, a group of kids from the YWCA needed some help, and they asked me if I would help them, and I gave them some land in the back of these old greenhouses, and we got an article in the Milwaukee Journal. And it kind of kick-started our work that we do as a nonprofit, starting working with young people in the community, and now along a continuum, we have become an organization that's multi-generational, multicultural organization that works in not only in Milwaukee, but regionally, nationally, and also we have some international projects as well.
That is awesome. And I mean, you have gained a lot of national attention for what it is you do. Your Milwaukee headquarters is located exactly where?
Our national headquarters is located on 55th and Silver Spring.
Okay.
We have about 25 other farms, some as small as a quarter acre where we have 3 hoop houses, and some as large as 5 acres with hoop houses, about 25 acres of hoop houses now, and about 300 acres of outside production.
Okay, so it's pretty hard to miss Growing Power when you're driving up Silver Spring. It's right there, 5500 West Silver Spring, and you've been doing this, like you said, for over 20 years, and you literally started with a plot of land, and you wanted to help some young people. And I think that a lot of people may be familiar with you as a person, but your background is remarkable. So if it's okay with you, I'd love to tell our viewers more. You are originally from Rockville, Maryland.
That's correct.
And by no means are you a small man. I think you're around 6'7", right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people won't know, but you were the first African American to play basketball at the University of Miami, hence the hat that you're wearing. Right. So how important is that for you?
Well, that's important. I'm very proud of the accomplishments that happened back then. In 1967, when I graduated high school, there were very few African American athletes at colleges across America, you know, especially in the South. I mean, in 1969, we played the University of Florida and Alabama, and they had no African-American athletes. And so at times it was stressful in terms of some of the treatment you got, but it was an important era during that time. Of course, the civil rights bills had just been signed by President Johnson. So it was a turbulent time with the war and everything. But it was a great period, I think, as I look back on it, for me and my growth as a person.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to mention you played professional basketball, and once you retired from the game, you moved to Milwaukee, which is your wife's hometown.
That's correct.
So with that in mind, you worked as a sales marketing person at Procter & Gamble.
Yeah.
And then something or somewhere along the way, you decided to purchase this farm on Silver Spring, which was in foreclosure, right?
Actually, the city owned the property.
Oh, okay.
They had foreclosed on the person for taxes. And,
oh, I see.
And it was actually still operating because the person was still renting from the city. So it was never out of business from its inception, which as I look back and studied the records, it was a 19th century farm originally. And I was the third owner. I became the third owner of that farm. And from what I understand, what I've been able to find in information, it was the only really truly registered farm left in the city of Milwaukee.
Wow, and the rest, as they say, is history, right? Did you ever think that you would gain the attention that you have around the country when you purchased that farm?
No, because my original intention was to sell my farm produce, which is kind of a selfish act in a way compared to what I do today. But that was my original intention. It was on a very busy street, Silver Spring, between two freeways, in business, and coming from having a business background. Location is everything, they say.
They say.
But not
location.
Exactly. But,
so
I thought I was at a very good place to start. And it was a place that we now call food desert. Mm-hmm. It's still a food desert. You have to travel 3.5 miles east, 3.5 miles west for a pick and save, or go 60th up to the old Capitol Court for folks to get food in a very densely populated community, with West Lawn being the largest public housing project in Milwaukee, a 75-acre piece of land. So I felt it was a very strategic place to bring in really good food, not just food that people, we have food and then we have good food.
You can say that again.
So
yeah.
I thought it would be an important piece, and to be able to hire kids from the community is one of the commitments I made with the city. And I got lucky because the alderman there was I'm trying to think, Don Richards,
okay,
who's now on our board. So Don, as a former farm boy from Sheboygan, an ex-priest, so it was actually between myself and a church. They were going to build a mega church if they had gotten the property. And Don said he had enough churches in his district, and what I was doing was religion in itself, growing healthy food for people. So he supported, and when you get the alderman to support you, and that helped me make the purchase. And then I kind of tricked a bank.
You tricked them.
Yeah, because it was First Star Bank back in the day. Uh-huh. And Dee Sims, I went to her and told her what I was going to do, and she really liked the idea. Because most banks would have probably, you see those commercials where the security, you come in with a crazy idea and the security throws you out the door, and you land on your face or something. Because urban agriculture wasn't really popular. The only folks that were really promoting urban agriculture was the Extension Service with Dennis and his crews on the Shoots and Roots project when I came into Milwaukee. So it wasn't like urban agriculture is today in every city and small town in America. Everybody's talking about, and it's probably the hottest thing in agriculture right now, is urban agriculture, for obvious reasons that we have to figure out how to grow food closer to where people live, because most people today live close or around the world, close or inside cities. It's not like the old days where everybody lived out in rural communities and it was more of a balance. And for economic reasons, it's important that we take out that travel dollars, because transportation in agriculture is very high.
Wow. And it is a very hot topic. That is exactly why you are here. And we will be talking to the guys from the UW Extension in the second segment of today's show, so thank you for mentioning them. I want to talk about, you mentioned the food desert, and Growing Power has done a tremendous thing in allowing people to get food baskets. They're called your farm to market baskets, and it's a program where people can actually they can pick up baskets on different levels, or do you do delivery as well?
Well, we deliver to drop sites around the city. It's a program that actually started with small farmers, a CSA type program, but I modified it because in a true CSA program, people have to pay up front, either $500 for a share or $250 for a half a share, even before they get the food. And then they're dependent on what's available on the farm in that particular week.
Okay.
Well, folks in the city who have less money, they can't afford to do that, to pay $500 and not really get a certain amount of food. So what we did is I came up in 1995 with this idea of providing this bag of food, 20 pounds, guaranteed every week, with different produce in it, and really looking at the demographics of the city and really tailoring the food for those folks that eat certain types of food, but all good food that's raised as much as we can locally and regionally.
I love
that bag.
And it runs on a weekly basis, as you said. You've got your regular market basket, the junior, senior basket, and the sustainable market basket, and you mentioned the CSA basket.
Right.
So people can go to your website to kind of get a better feel for which one would work for them. So your website address is?
growingpower.org.
Okay, growingpower.org, and your phone number, 414-527-1546.
That's correct.
All right, we'll put it right there on the screen. And you've talked about a lot of factors when it comes to urban agriculture, but for me, I'm always concerned with the pesticides and all the things that are in the dirty foods that we hear about.
Right.
So it's really awesome to have someone like you who realizes the importance of good food that's not treated with all the chemicals. And on a flip side, buying organic food can be very, very expensive. So let's talk about how Growing Power grows sustainably. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, what we do is we grow, everything that we grow is without the use of chemicals, pesticides, or herbicides. Mm-hmm. We grow our own soil, which is composting. Mm-hmm. I call it growing soil because that's what you have to do in the city, because 50% of the land in our cities is either on asphalt or concrete. Or hard pan clay is the other alternative, and we don't have any digging equipment. We don't dig down, so we put 2 feet of new soil on top of the existing surfaces, and that's how we grow. We put about 100 yards of compost inside our 20 by 96 foot hoop houses that we build, so it's all grown on high fertility compost, and what that does is gives you all the micronutrients and best case scenario to grow food that is nutritious and also tastes good, because it's all about the soil. When it comes to growing food, and any farmer will tell you that, it's all about the soil. So that's what we do, we grow soil.
Okay.
And last year we took 40 million pounds of inputs to create thousands of yards of soil that we use in our infrastructure, and we also sell some of that to folks in the region.
Thank you for sharing that. And Alderman Joe Davis, he has been on the show, and Growing Power is a part of his district, obviously. So he was very proud of the things that you're doing for the community, including the community garden in Milwaukee's largest housing development, West Lawn Gardens, that you mentioned earlier. You also have the Mayor's Garden, where you donate produce to Milwaukee's Veterans for Peace. So it just doesn't stop with you. The list goes on and on of all the great things that you're doing to make a difference. So I think I speak for a lot of people when I say thank you. I do want to quickly make sure the people at home know how they can be involved with Growing Power's Good Food Revolution 5K Run Walk. It's coming up on Saturday, May 10th. If you would tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, this is an important, there's a lot of run and walks around Milwaukee for March of Dimes and other things, but the number one cause of death with people is bad food, which causes a lot of diseases, but it's really about eating bad food. So what we're trying to do is do 2 things. We're trying to raise some money to continue to build the infrastructure of the gardens in the city of Milwaukee, but also an awareness building of to folks in the community about eating healthy and getting exercise, because I was part of the launch of the Let's Move campaign with First Lady Obama.
Yes.
So it's really carrying out what she started in terms of getting exercise and eating good food.
And definitely child obesity, which is something that she created that whole concept around. Right. So I want to bring that up in just a second, but first the details again for the Growing Power Good Food Revolution 5K Run Walk. It's Saturday, May 10th. Day of registration and check-in begins at 7:30 a.m. Runners at around 8:40 a.m. Pre-registration deadline May 2nd. And then the entry fees are $25 if you pre-register register, $35 for late or day of registration. And that walk starts at Growing Power at 5500 West Silver Spring. Before I get you out of here, I have to ask you about your experience with working with First Lady Michelle Obama. That's a pretty big deal. Out of all the farmers across the country, she chose you. You've been to state dinners at the White House, and I should also mention Time Magazine named you as one of the most 100 influential people in the world, and you've also been featured on ABC News with Diane Sawyer. That's just the tip of the iceberg, but specifically, what was it like to meet the First Lady and work with her on this initiative?
Of course, I think for any American it would be quite an honor, but it was especially important because when she put the small garden before that on the White House lawn, they estimated that 10 million people started growing food again. Many African American, many people, Latinos, and people who had lost their land in their countries and live in America, all of a sudden started growing food again. So I think that was very important time. And then to follow that up with the Let's Move campaign to end childhood obesity, but it's really bigger than that. So to help her launch that was very important. It was quite an honor for me to be at the White House, and then I've become pretty good friends with her over the time, and she visited our site in Chicago, which really helped. She's helped our organization, just being connected with her, and helped the movement even more for her to be connected to what I call the good food revolution. Having her there is really important, and we continue to work with her. As a matter of fact, this is going to be really important. Some of the initiatives that we're doing here in Milwaukee and developing an Institute for Urban Agriculture and Nutrition with the 6 universities in the city and many community-based organizations, the Extension Service that you'll be talking to later on. These kind of things are happening, and things like this are happening all over the country. So I think without her stepping in there, it would be a tougher road to hoe, so to speak. So I think having folks like her really helps educate people at that level, because we now have corporate companies and medical folks and almost every industry involved sitting at the table, what I call the good food revolution table. Before it was just crusty old farmers like myself and academics studying the food system, but now we have everybody at the table, and that's what it's going to take to build a new food system in America.
Wow, and you should be proud of the work that you've done to make all of that possible. And you keep mentioning the Good Food Revolution. You co-wrote that book, The Good Food Revolution, Growing Healthy Food, People and Communities. You also have a children's book entitled Farmer Will Allen and the Growing Table. So, so many outstanding things you do to make a difference in our community and communities across this country. So thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And it is a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always great to spread the word about what we're doing, because it's so important to the lives of all of us, not just a certain aspect of our community, but the entire community.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Mr. Will Allen is the founder and CEO of Growing Power Incorporated. Don't forget, the Growing Power Good Food Revolution 5K Run Walk is coming up on Saturday, May 10th. Log on to growingpower.org or give them a call at 414-527-1546 for more information. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll continue our conversation on urban agriculture with representatives from an organization that rents garden plots in many parts of the country, or the county rather, and provides technical assistance to neighborhood groups that run their own community gardens. We'll find out more about the University of Wisconsin Extension, Milwaukee County, right after this.